The American Academy of Pediatrics presents Anxiety. Hi, I'm Dr. Chelsea O'Hare, and I'm a licensed clinical psychologist at the Center for Autism and Neurodevelopmental Disorders. Today, I'm going to help you identify the signs and symptoms of anxiety in children and also identify supports for your child as they cope with their own anxiety. What is anxiety? Anxiety is a fear or a worry that feels like the absolute truth. So, for example, your child might be worried that they're going to get sick and they have a thought that is a worried thought. Oh no, I'm worried I'm going to get sick. But this ends up becoming the truth, as in, I will get sick. There is no doubt in my mind that I will absolutely get sick. So we take a worried, right? A thought that might cross our minds, like, ooh, you know what? There's a pandemic going around and I might get sick. I'm worried I'm going to get sick. Turns into, I will absolutely get sick. Or they might have a thought such as, I'm afraid I'm going to fail my math test. Math is hard for me. I'm a little bit worried that I'm going to fail it. But instead of that thought being a maybe, it becomes the absolute truth. I'm absolutely going to fail my math test. So all of our fears or any thoughts that enter into our head, worried thoughts, become absolute truth. So what does it look like in children? Anxiety in children can look a little bit different than adults. As adults, we might be able to communicate about our anxiety, but in children, it looks like becoming easily annoyed with small things. It looks like having trouble concentrating. It looks like a difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep at night. It looks like muscle tension, so being really sore maybe in your shoulders or your neck areas, and being easily tired or completely overwhelmed by small tasks that you might ask them to do. So knowing this, how can we help our children cope with anxiety? Well, the first step is checking in with yourself. Taking a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And kind of noticing for yourself, am I worried about something? Our mortgage payment, my job, my relationships? Am I a little irritable because I feel overwhelmed with all the things I need to do in life? Am I having trouble sleeping at night? Generally, how am I feeling these days? Because the more anxious we are as caregivers to our children, the more anxious our children are going to become. They're like sponges. After that, when we have calmed ourselves down, we can start to begin to help our own children cope with anxiety. We can teach them how to breathe, we can teach them how to relax their muscles, and we can help them learn how to have positive thoughts. When we're teaching our children to breathe, the most important thing is that we make it fun and engaging. We don't want to make this feel like a lesson or another task that we're asking them to do. We want to make it fun. So these are 3 ways that I teach breathing. Animal breathing. Animal breathing is pretending to breathe like different animals. For example, how does a snake breathe? A snake breathes by breathing in through his nose and out through his mouth, sounding just like a snake. How does a bear breathe? Well, he breathes in through his nose and out through his mouth. Hum. Or maybe even he breathes by growling. You can do this with anything in your house, any pet that you might have, a dog, a cat, a fish, any animals that you can see outside of your house or that your kids are familiar with. It doesn't matter what kind of breathing technique they come up with or how they're breathing, but that they're practicing breathing in through their nose for 3 seconds, holding it for 1 second, and breathing out through their mouths for 3 seconds. The same thing goes with shaped breathing. We can go on a scavenger hunt for shapes around the house. What shape is mom's phone? What shape is the kitchen table? What shape is our door? We will find squares and triangles and circles all around our own houses, and we can breathe like them. For example, our phone looks like a rectangle. So we would breathe in through one side, out through the other side, in through one side, out through the other side, all the way making 4 sides of the rectangle. So we're going to breathe in through one side, out through the next. And we could even use your finger to kind of point through that shape. Or we can breathe like a triangle, right? Breathe up through one side, out through the next side, in through one side. The last is magic trick breathing. So what I like to do is have my kiddos lie down on the ground and put their hands on their stomach. I ask them to breathe in and then breathe out. Then I place their favorite stuffed animal, a book, or any weighted object from around the house, and I ask them to put their hands back down on the ground next to them. And I say, breathe in, breathe out. And as I do so, I say, what? How are you doing that? You're making the book move. You're making the stuffed animal move. Because as each child is breathing, their diaphragm is going to contract and push back out. And as they're doing that, the object on their stomach is going to go up and down. And it's a magic trick. So these are 3 different ways that we can teach kids to breathe in a fun way. The next is I teach them to squeeze. They squeeze, stretch, or hide. You can pretend to squeeze a lemon, get all that juice out. We want to make really good lemonade today, and relax. We can stretch like a cat with our backs arched up and our hands pushing out, or we can hide in our shell and make our elbows and our hands come up to our face and our neck come right in, and then expand again. So while you're talking about lemonade and cute cats and turtles, we're actually getting them to move different parts of their body that is very similar to progressive muscle relaxation that we might use for adults. We can also get them to squeeze from your head to your toes. So we start by taking 3 deep breaths. And then squeeze our feet for 5 seconds. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Relax. And then we squeeze our legs for 5 seconds. Squeeze, 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 and relax. Squeeze our stomach for 5 seconds. Squeeze, 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 and relax. And we continue on with our shoulders, our arms and our hands, our whole body, and then we take 3 deep breaths to end. We also want to help them picture positive experiences. So one way to help our children relax is to get them to picture a place where they feel most relaxed. Now, as a caregiver, you probably have a really, really good idea of how your child relaxes and the best places that they relax. So for me, this would be at the beach. And so if I'm thinking, okay, my child also is so relaxed when we're at the beach, then what I might do is have us close our eyes and practice picturing ourselves at the beach. What do we see? Oh, we see the waves and the sun over the waves, and they're crashing one by one. We might also smell the salt, right? We smell the salt in the air. We hear the waves crashing. And we feel the sand beneath our toes and maybe the sun shining on our face. So as we're picturing the beach, we want to focus on what we can see, what we can hear, what we can feel, all of our sensory experiences. And it might be easiest to do this by asking your child, oh, what do you smell at the beach? Whoa, what do you see with your eyes at the beach? To get them to feel fully present and feel like they're actually at the beach. So those are 3 ways that you can help your child cope with anxiety. I hope you learned from this presentation today put on by myself, Dr. O'Hare, from the Center for Autism and Neurodevelopmental Disorders, in conjunction with the American Academy of Pediatrics.